Yesterday, former defensive tackle Arthur Jones also died. The Onondaga County Sheriff's Office confirmed that Jones had a pre-existing heart condition.
Arthur Jones, Super Bowl champion with the Baltimore Ravens, has tragically died at the age of 39. The Rochester native, who made his mark in the NFL, passed away, leaving behind an impressive football legacy. This Super Bowl champion once stood on top of the world and was living every athlete's dream. Sadly, what happened to him after the spotlight faded will absolutely break your heart. This story isn't just sad and real, so sit tight, because what really happened to Arthur Jones will leave you speechless. Keeping watching till the end as we unpack this story till the end. Arthur Jones dies at 39 in sudden medical emergency. The news of former NFL star Arthur Jones's sudden passing on October 3, 2025, left many in deep disbelief. Friends, fans, and former teammates found it hard to accept that a man known for his strength, discipline, and determination was gone so suddenly. He was only 39 years old, and his death at his home in Pompey, a quiet town in Onondaga County, sent ripples of sadness across the sports world. People began to ask themselves the kind of question that always follows shocking news like this. How could someone so full of life and energy just be gone in an instant? It was reported that emergency responders were called to his home that Friday morning, just before 11 a.m. According to the police, the call had come in as an urgent medical emergency, and paramedics rushed to his residence hoping to save him. Neighbors recalled seeing flashing lights outside the house, not realizing that something so tragic was unfolding inside. Sadly, despite how quickly the medical team arrived, there was nothing they could do. By the time they reached him, Arthur Jones was already gone. It's the kind of news that stops you in your tracks. One moment you're reading about a man who once stood as a giant on the field, and the next, you're learning that Syracuse University confirmed his death at his Pompey home. Soon after, the Onondaga County Sheriff's Office released a quiet, somber statement. There were no signs of foul play. It wasn't a crime scene, just a heartbreaking medical emergency that left fans, friends, and former teammates stunned. But what really makes this story unforgettable lies beyond the headlines. So stay with me till the very end for the full truth. Further details started to surface later in the day. According to reports, the emergency call had been triggered automatically by Jones's own medical device. It was learned that he had a pacemaker and defibrillator implanted to manage a heart condition he had been living with for some time. The device had gone off that morning, sending an automatic alert to his doctor, which in turn prompted the immediate dispatch of emergency services. That single alert was what led 911 dispatchers to send both ambulance and fire crews straight to his residence. It's hard not to wonder, though, what those final moments were like. Was he alone when it happened? Did he feel the warning signs coming on? Those are questions that may never be answered. Authorities later confirmed that Jones's defibrillator was part of his ongoing medical treatment for a pre-existing heart condition. Medical experts explained that such devices are commonly used for people who are at risk of sudden cardiac arrest, designed to deliver life-saving shocks if the heart suddenly stops beating properly. The thought that someone as physically powerful as Arthur had to rely on such a device is sobering. It reminds everyone that even athletes, no matter how strong or fit they may appear, are not immune to serious health challenges. How often do people forget that behind the fame, the strength, and the glory, athletes are still human beings with fragile bodies just like anyone else? Despite early reports suggesting that his death was likely cardiac-related, Jones's family has not yet confirmed an official cause. They have chosen to remain private as they process their immense loss, which is understandable given how sudden and painful it must be. The Baltimore Ravens, the team where Jones spent a good portion of his NFL career, released a heartfelt statement acknowledging his passing. The organization expressed its grief and shared its condolences with his family, but, like everyone else, they stopped short of providing any medical details. Syracuse University, where Jones had once been a standout defensive lineman before going pro, also confirmed his death and expressed their sadness. The Onondaga County Sheriff's Office has continued its investigation, though all indications suggest a natural medical emergency rather than anything suspicious. Eric DaCosta, the general manager of the Baltimore Ravens, said in his statement that the entire organization was heartbroken by the loss. He described Jones as a beloved teammate, a hard worker, and a man who always brought energy and positivity into every room he walked into. The statement reflected the collective disbelief spreading through the football community. How could someone who spent his life dedicated to fitness, discipline, and health be gone so soon? As the story spread, fans took to social media to express their shock and sorrow. Many shared clips from his memorable moments on the field, remembering him not just as a talented defensive tackle, but also as a kind and grounded man off the field. People who knew him personally spoke of his big heart, his humility, and his loyalty to those he cared about. Some wrote that they couldn't believe he had passed so young, while others reflected on how unpredictable life can be. Isn't it strange how quickly life can change? How one morning can start off so ordinary and end in tragedy? In the days following his death, the conversation around athletes and their health gained new attention. It reminded many of the unseen pressures and physical tolls that professional sports can take on a person's body. For years, Jones had played at the highest level of competition, pushing his body to its limits. Even after retirement, he maintained his athleticism and was often seen as an example of post-career strength and discipline. Yet beneath that image was a man who had quietly been managing a heart condition, something few people outside his close circle may have known about. Arthur Jones's passing is not just the loss of a former NFL star, it's a reminder of how unpredictable and fragile life can be. It's a story that reminds everyone that even those who seem larger than life can face struggles unseen to the world. And while no one may ever fully understand why his life ended so soon, the impact he left behind refuses to fade into silence. His story still lingers, not just in memories, but in the hearts of those who watched his journey unfold. Because behind the fame, behind the roar of the crowd, was a man whose story carried lessons about drive, pain, and purpose. And if you think you've heard it all, think again. Because what Arthur Jones built, from the streets of Syracuse to the grand stage of the Super Bowl, will leave you speechless. Stay glued. Arthur Jones builds a legacy from Syracuse to Super Bowl. Arthur Jones's football journey started in a place far removed from the glamour and spotlight of the NFL. He wasn't the kind of athlete that scouts raved about early on, or the type whose name appeared on every sports headline. In fact, he began his career as a modest two-star recruit from Rochester, New York. But deep down, Arthur carried something far greater than the hype surrounding him. He had drive, grit, and a determination that couldn't be measured by rankings or scouting reports. When he arrived at Syracuse University, many probably saw just another hopeful player trying to make a name for himself. Yet, as time would soon tell, he was much more than that. He slowly built a reputation not just as a dependable defensive lineman, but as one of the school's most formidable and respected players. One might wonder, how does a two-star recruit go on to make such a lasting mark at a major university program like Syracuse? For Arthur, the answer was simple: relentless effort and belief in himself. During his years at Syracuse, Arthur Jones transformed from being overlooked to being unforgettable. He became a cornerstone of Syracuse's defensive line, setting a record that would make any player proud: 38.5 tackles for loss, the highest ever by an interior defensive lineman in school history. It was the kind of record that spoke not just of raw talent, but of consistency, strength, and intelligence on the field. Each game was another opportunity for him to prove that the labels others placed on him didn't define who he was. His hard work didn't go unnoticed either. He was named to the All-Big East team 3 times, earning first-team honors in both of his final 2 seasons. That level of recognition doesn't come easy, and it certainly doesn't happen by luck. One of his most memorable college moments came in a game against Notre Dame, where he recorded a stunning 15 tackles, including 4 for loss, a performance that showed just how much he had grown from the quiet recruit he once was. By the time his college career came to an end, Arthur had collected 145 tackles, putting him among Syracuse's all-time greats. Who would have thought that a player once considered average could carve his name in such a remarkable way into the school's history? His journey didn't stop there, of course. The 2010 NFL Draft brought the next chapter of Arthur's story when the Baltimore Ravens selected him in the 5th round, using the 157th overall pick. Being drafted was a dream come true, yet Arthur knew it was only the beginning of an even tougher climb. At first, he was a rotational player, finding his footing among veterans and stars in one of the league's most respected defenses. But Arthur had never been one to shy away from challenges. Bit by bit, through every practice, every snap, and every hit, he began to earn his place. By the 2012 season, things started to click. He recorded 4.5 sacks that year, proving that he could make an impact even among the league's best. Following that career-defining season, Arthur Jones became one of the league's respected defensive players, and teams began to take notice. In 2014, he signed a significant 5-year, $33 million contract with the Indianapolis Colts, a deal that reflected just how far he had come from that overlooked recruit from Rochester. It was proof that perseverance pays off and that the quiet ones sometimes roar the loudest in the end. Yet, like many athletes, Arthur's time with the Colts came with challenges. Injuries began to take their toll, limiting him to just 17 games over 3 seasons. It must have been frustrating after all. How does someone so used to fighting his way forward handle being forced to the sidelines? Still, even in the face of setbacks, Arthur kept pushing, recording 53 tackles and 1.5 sacks during his time in Indianapolis. His determination never wavered, even when his body tried to slow him down. After his run with the Colts, Arthur spent his final NFL season with Washington in 2017. It marked the closing chapter of a career that had been built on resilience, hard work, and heart. When he eventually announced his retirement on Instagram, it wasn't the end of his story, but rather the reflection of a journey that had inspired so many. He could look back and say he gave the game everything he had. Over 8 NFL seasons, he appeared in 61 games, recording 173 tackles and 10 sacks, a career that many players only dream of. Looking back, who could have predicted that the quiet, underappreciated kid from Rochester would one day become a Super Bowl champion? Arthur Jones's story isn't just about football. It's about perseverance, humility, and quiet strength. It's about how someone can rise from humble beginnings, face every obstacle head-on, and still manage to leave behind a legacy that speaks volumes. His career is proof that greatness doesn't always come from where you start. It's about how much you're willing to fight for where you want to go. Isn't that what makes his story so inspiring? He may not have been the loudest voice in the locker room, nor the flashiest player on the field, but he showed the world that determination and belief can turn even the smallest spark into a roaring flame. Every time Arthur Jones stepped onto the field, he carried the weight of quiet grit, the kind that doesn't need applause to speak volumes. His story isn't just about tackles or trophies. It's about heart, humility, and an unbreakable will that refused to fade, even when the spotlight shifted elsewhere. And when he finally walked away from the game, he did so knowing that he had written a story worth remembering, a legacy that still echoes far beyond the stadium lights. Now, the NFL community and Syracuse are coming together to honor the man who inspired both teammates and fans alike. Stay glued, because what they said about him will move you deeply. NFL community and Syracuse pay tribute to Arthur Jones. Tributes poured in from every corner of the sports world following the sudden and heartbreaking death of Arthur Jones, and it seemed as though everyone who had ever crossed paths with him had something kind to say. The news shocked fans, teammates, and sports organizations alike, leaving many wondering how someone so full of life and light could be gone so suddenly. Baltimore Ravens General Manager Eric DeCosta shared an emotional statement, saying that Arthur's presence was a gift to everyone he met. He described how Arthur's big, bright smile, infectious energy, and constant positivity had the power to lift anyone's spirits, no matter the situation. DeCosta said that people like Arthur don't come around often, and when they do, their absence leaves an emptiness that words can barely describe. Ravens head coach John Harbaugh also spoke with deep sadness, saying his heart was heavy, and that Arthur wasn't just a remarkable player, but also the kind of man any coach would be proud to lead. He said Arthur worked harder than anyone, gave everything he had to his team, and never complained, even when things got tough. At Syracuse University, where Jones once set the school record for tackles for loss by an interior defensive lineman, the atmosphere was filled with both pride and sorrow. The director of athletics, John Wildhack, spoke about Arthur not just as a talented player, but as a person who left a mark far deeper than the game itself. He said Arthur always carried a smile and an encouraging word for younger athletes, and that his legacy wasn't just about the stats he left behind, but about the spirit he brought to every room he entered. First-year head coach Fran Brown, who had known Arthur for about 2 years, also shared his thoughts. He told everyone how Arthur's kindness and personality were truly a joy to be around, and even asked for a moment of silence at the team's dinner in Texas to honor him. It was a touching gesture that showed just how much Arthur had meant, not only to those who played with him, but to everyone who ever had the privilege of meeting him. One could almost picture that dinner scene, the quiet in the room, the bowed heads, and the unspoken feeling that they had lost someone special. As the news spread, social media became flooded with heartfelt tributes from people all around the world. It wasn't just the football community that felt his absence. Even the world of mixed martial arts took notice when UFC fighter Alex Pereira dedicated a moment of silence after winning a championship fight, showing that Arthur's influence had somehow reached beyond the borders of football. Former Ravens teammate Torrey Smith shared that he was deeply shocked by the news, calling it another painful reminder that life is short and unpredictable. He referred to Arthur as his brother, a word that carried weight and sincerity, showing that their bond went beyond the field. UFC superstar Conor McGregor also shared his condolences, describing Arthur as a great man and a friendly giant. It's not often that athletes from different worlds come together to mourn one person, but that's exactly the kind of impact Arthur Jones had. In his hometown of Endicott, New York, people gathered to remember him as more than just an athlete. They spoke of him as a hometown hero who never forgot where he came from and who always brought light wherever he went. One local tribute described him as someone who shined his bright light on the entire community. It made people ask themselves, How could someone so generous, so full of love and humor, be gone so soon? Many shared memories of running into him at local events or community centers, recalling how he always took time to talk to everyone, kids, parents, old friends, never acting like a celebrity, but always like one of them. Through all the words and tributes, one thing became very clear. Arthur Jones wasn't remembered just for his achievements on the field, but for the person he was off it. He had a rare ability to make people feel seen, to lift them up, and to remind them of what truly matters: kindness, hard work, and love for others. With this, we have come to the end of this video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, do well to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. To enjoy more thrilling stories, click now on the following video that pops up on your screen.